Great. It's on. All right, Sunny.
Okay, so hi, my name is Sunny Bates. I am the CEO of Black Logics, and Black Logics is geared towards assisting landscape architects. And currently, they work well over 50 hours a week designing and sourcing materials for projects on small budgets. And Black Logics relieves that pain by providing a mobile app with drag and drop features and tracking abilities for their product. So we are the tech secret to landscape design. And now I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today, Miguel Jesus. I know him through Cal State San Marcos. I just finished a class with him in the executives chair, and I'll go ahead and pass it on to him.
All right, thanks for the introduction, Sunny. Welcome, everyone. What you are going to learn over the next 1 hour is that everything you know about sales is totally wrong. And
I like that, Miguel.
Thank you.
And before you start, though, Stephen, you usually do some housekeeping stuff right before, and then we'll have Miguel start.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, for those of you watching, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's live, or you're watching this recording, feel free to leave a like. Leave a comment down below. If you have thoughts, we'd love to share them. Or if you have a question for Miguel, please share those. Every interaction that we get with videos like this helps reach more people. So that like or that comment that you leave could push this out to an entrepreneur or somebody who really needs to hear some of the tips Miguel is going to share today. So feel free to do so. And if you are watching this live and if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the chat and we will get to them later on in the session. But I'll hand it over to Miguel.
Very good, Stephen. Thank you for that introduction and for the message to those people who would like to pass this opportunity on to others to listen either currently or in the future would be awesome. So as I stated earlier, everything that you know about sales is probably totally all wrong because nobody has really taught you that unless you've got a degree or a certification from some certified institution that has taught you how to sell, then you really don't have a system of selling. You have an idea, you have a belief, you have an experience that was either a fond one or a not so fond one relative to your experiences when, quote unquote, being sold. So here's one of the first revelations I'm going to share with you, and you will know this to be true. People like to buy, but they don't like to be sold. And so if you understand that concept and you buy into it, as I do, then your job is really to figure out what's going to cause somebody to buy. It's not about you moving your lips and making utterances that sound like English occasionally. Pitching, making a pitch. And by the way, to all of you entrepreneurs, this applies to your pitch deck. You have to be real good at understanding the needs of the market. So in this case, in a pitch deck, it would be the needs of an investor. And they're interested not only in what? Return of capital, but return on capital. They're looking at two different metrics. First of all, they're going to, as you folks are entrepreneurs, they're going to gauge you and check you out to see if you are worthy. Worthy of what? Worthy of the risk. Worthy of being the rider of that horse, the horse being your business. And to the degree that you can, with a compelling argument, demonstrate, show, either through experience or short-term results, that you have the grit, that you have the chops for them to invest in you first, not your business model. First, it's going to be you. Then they're going to take a look at your business model. Or, as some other investors might look at, they'll take a look at your business model and then decide whether they want to keep you as the founder, right? Because you may have an outstanding business model, but you're the wrong person to head that organization into double, triple digits or into large growth, but they have usually their own teams or they know of people that they would invite to lead that effort. So let me go back to where I started. Everything you know about sales is totally wrong. And the reason it's wrong, it's by the way, it's not your fault. Nobody's ever taught you. Nobody's ever paused you. No one is giving you feedback. And you haven't really met, although each and every one of you probably think of one person that they think is a great communicator. Notice I said communicator. I didn't say salesperson. They're a great communicator, because that's what really selling is all about. Selling is not the stuff that you may be familiar with, that like walking into a retail store. There are some very good retailers, but here's a different business setting that I'll say I have found great communicators, some of which I have hired in my 50 years of running sales organizations and leadership positions in 2 Fortune 500 companies. So you may be shocked by what I'm going to tell you, but I have found some excellent people that I was willing to invest in the restaurant trade. And some of them who have been bartenders. Why do I say that? Because their entire business is about communication. Their entire business, their success, first of all, they rely on tips. In case you've never worked in those industries, it's a tipping business. So therefore, their best foot forward is always to present themselves in the best light. Some are a lot better than others. But what are they doing? Are they selling? Nah, they're kind of communicating first. They're communicating. They're trying to build a relationship with you. And those people in the service businesses that are better at communicating than others will generally get generous tips from their clients. And that's an entire skill set that gets developed over time. So I wanted to lead with that notion. And I want you guys to challenge the notion of everything that you know about sales is totally wrong. If you believe you got the right model, the right answer, please feel free to ask me questions as I go through. I've got a little bit of a presentation with you. It's going to probably cause you some whiplash because I am going to cover a number of areas. It may appear as though I am contradicting myself, but that's because you don't know what I know about communications, selling, and emotional intelligence, which is not a part of my conversation, but it is a part of understanding why some people are better than others at communicating. So I'm going to share my screen now and go through the presentation that I've got for you. So this is a little bit about who I am. You don't need to know all of that. You can read it later. I'm sure this will be provided to you in the form of a copy. That's a little bit about what I do. So, I mean, what's important about what I have there is the second paragraph. I've been a leader in running a $200 million sales organization, VP of sales. And as you probably have learned, or you are learning as an entrepreneur, you cannot grow a business by yourself. So anybody who ever assumes or is led to believe, or if you believe that you can grow from 0 to 200 million by yourself, is totally missing the boat. Doesn't work that way. You need team with a huge T, big T, in order to scale and grow your business. So that's one thing I'll just highlight for you. And I am also while I'm also in faculty, I'm a director of business development for Cal State University, San Marcos. And for those of you who want to learn how to develop, my guiding statement is very important because I believe it. Struggle is optional, but success is a choice. Too many founders, new business startup people struggle with growth, with putting their business on path, with being successful because they choose to go it alone. This is not a contest of how strong you are as an individual. It is really a contest of how good you are at surrounding yourself with people smarter than you are. So kudos to you who have been working and will continue to work with Fokcus mentoring because you made a good call, a good choice. I've seen some of the speakers and the panelists, and I got to tell you, you may not totally appreciate everything you're getting at the moment, but if you're recording it, taking good notes, you will be able to refer to it later on when you actually do have a burning need and desire for what is being taught. All right, so here's a little bit of my story. I grew up in New York City on the Lower East Side of New York, grew up in East Harlem, born in East Harlem, and we were below the poverty line when I was up until my 20s and graduated from college. So below the poverty line was as I was a student. And then once I graduated from college, I was totally broke. So I went in the wrong direction. I went from being below the poverty line to being broke because then I was a college graduate. How's that? Not supposed to work that way, right? Well, that's the way it works for me. And so I grew up in public housing, a lot of people living in those red buildings that you see over there. My elementary school is right off to the left, under construction, getting restored, PS 188. And so that's part of my history. From there, I went to Long Island University after taking a half a year off because I didn't have the money to go to school. So went to Long Island University, was there 4.5 years, because unlike, or maybe just like some of you, I actually changed my major once. That cost me more money and it cost me more time. And the reason I did that, and I was very appreciative of having a internship, was because I was studying in the wrong profession. So I started out as an accounting major and did 1 year, I did a summer internship with a CPA firm, a Black-owned CPA firm in Harlem. And after doing that, I couldn't get to the registrar's office fast enough to change my major. I was there like Monday morning at 8 and said, I need to change my major. This is not working for me. This is not going to work. Because and here's why. I have nothing against the profession. I think the profession is necessary and very important. In fact, I've got probably a total of 4 to 6 years of accounting in total, which included my MBA. But it wasn't where I saw myself doing what I wanted to do for the next 50 or 60 years. So that taught me a lesson, because I actually did some accounting work of what I didn't want to do. So from there, I started an MBA for about a year, Columbia University. Those of you who don't recognize that that name, it's an Ivy League school back east, back in on 130th Street on the west side of Manhattan. So I did that for about a year, did not see, actually 116th Street, I almost got it perfectly. And so I didn't see the relevancy at that point in my life of doing an MBA, so I dropped out of school. At the time, I also had my own business, just to give you some indication. I am an entrepreneur at heart. I was in the retail trade for 3 years, had a business on between 69th Street and Broadway, just north of the Performing Arts Center in New York, and cut my teeth in that and learned how to do that for a little while, and then closed it down due to undercapitalization and one too many burglaries. So that happens to you in inner cities. A lot of stuff happens to you in inner cities. So I left there and then decided to go work in a corporate environment. And for the next 40 years, worked in 2 Fortune 500 companies. Did a whole bunch of things. That would have been probably, my store was a little further down to the left there. Then I went to work for Xerox Corporation, where I worked for 20 years. Went to the Caribbean for 8 years, where all our family was born. Moved around on the island. The island is only 30 this way, by about 120 this way. It's a small island in the Caribbean. Lived there for 8 years and performed in 3 different functions. So I was sales and then I was operations. So my experience in operations came by working on the island of Puerto Rico for Xerox Corporation. Then from there, moved to upstate New York. And then from upstate New York, after 2 years, moved to sunny San Diego. And I know I've got Sunny here, so she understands. So sunny San Diego. And worked for that company, continued to work for Xerox Corporation till I didn't. And then moved on to a little company called Paychex. So here's the thing about Xerox Corporation. It was an $18 billion company. And then I went to work for a $40 million company at the time, which I helped grow to about 2 billion plus by the time I retired. And I retired in San Diego, started my own business. Here's a few more things of what I do. I'm an MBA certified professional coach. I do all these things. I volunteer for junior achievement, volunteer at an organization called the Honor Foundation, helping transition active duty military from what they've been doing for 10 to 30 years into civilian workforce. Now let's get into the beef of what's important to you. So what I'm going to teach you, I don't expect you to develop any mastery, because you won't. You can't possibly develop mastery in a 1-hour conversation. You are basically going to hear from me comment on about 50 years of life experience doing what I've been doing in the commercial marketplace. So this is a B2B discussion. If you see my titling up on top, this is a B2B discussion. This is not B2C. I don't do B2C. So let me ask the people who are listening right now, do you guys know the difference between B2B selling versus B2C selling? Anybody? I'll take a volunteer. If not, I call on you, you know. That's what we do as professors. We call on you. Anybody?
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Hi. So B2C is direct to the consumer, and it requires a different user acquisition because you're going directly to the end user, and B2B is going to an enterprise, and it might ultimately be B2B to C to the end consumer, but your in this case, your client would be the enterprise.
Wow, that's pretty deep. I like it. You got it. So now that you've established that, who, and you know what? You got me all at a disadvantage because I don't know what your businesses are. So therefore, I don't know your business model. So everything I'm going to say, I want you to put with a grain of salt because I don't know your business model. And traditionally, this is purely teaching, has nothing to do with effectiveness for your business model. So having said that as a preamble, let me ask you a question. So where do you think the most money resides? Now, I'm not talking about total income money. I'm talking about average revenue per sale. Where do you think the
Certainly
largest?
In B2B, like if you're looking at your average order value for like an enterprise client versus your average order value at the end consumer, B2B, those average deal sizes are going to be far greater, and the lead time is going to be far longer.
Okay, now you've intrigued me. What do you do for a business? What's your business?
Mine actually is B2C, but I've run B2B companies before, so that's why the variance, I understand.
And what do you do now?
The current one is B2C.
B2C in what industry?
Yeah.
What
E-commerce.
business? E-commerce.
E-commerce, right.
Very good. I love that model. I love making money when you sleep. All right. So now that I've said that, most of what I'm going to say to you will not apply to your business model because that's not what I do. I mean, I do e-commerce, but that's for me. That's my business. I don't teach on that. All right. So let's discuss your best lead. Who else? I've got a few other business owners on here. I'd love to hear what business you're in, the other attendees that I haven't met yet. Anybody want to volunteer?
I know Sunny spoke first. I always feel like hers is more, has a B2B slant to it.
Correct. That's why I passed on her, because I figured that out. I didn't know your other guests, Curling. How about some of the other members that are here?
I know Jay's on too. Jay, you want to give your business model for your group?
Yeah, Miguel, we actually met at one of the cohorts that Curling put on. I guess it's been a year ago now. But yeah, so I am B2B. We sell physical security solutions to corporate campuses, whether that's casinos, hospitals, universities, et al.
And so that's eye in the sky technology.
All kinds, yes. So video surveillance, IoT sensors, video analytics, access control, all into a single platform.
All right, perfect. And you've been doing it for how long?
Been trying to sell to actual customers a long time, but having zero success. So this is why I'm listening to you today.
All right, excellent. And what's your background?
I'm a 57-year-old guy that's been doing sales and marketing for 40 of those years. So, yeah. So,
all right, and you've worked basically in the B2B space?
Yeah, I don't think I've really been in an organization that's done B2C. So it's always been B2B. Yeah.
Give me the industry, please.
That I've been in before. So it's always been high tech. It's been high tech though for 40 some years.
High tech, perfect. So you've been in a complex sale environment.
Yeah.
I didn't intend to bifurcate the presentation that way. I could always talk to you about complex sales and recommend a different book to you, because I do have a bibliography I'm going to recommend to everybody. In your case, you probably want to, your sales are mid-sized to enterprise level companies or
Correct.
small?
Correct. No, mid-sized to enterprise. Correct.
All right. So you want to purchase a book or invest in a book or rent it or do whatever you want, called Selling to the C-Suite.
Okay.
Because this presentation will help you sell to the C-Suite.
Okay.
And for those of you that are not familiar with the term, it's corporate suite, the C-level executives, all the CXOs, CIOs, VPs of sales, all the folks that sit in the boardroom that always start with no as their first answer to you after you present. The answer is no. And I'll tell you why the answer is no. Having sat in the boardroom, listened to some poor presentations from consultants. Consultants don't know how to sell or communicate ideas. But I'll touch on that in a minute. All right, who else have I not heard from? Just give me a little background so I know who I'm talking about. Eli, what do you do? Or Jay? I'm sorry, I spoke to Jay. Eli.
Yeah, can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Eli.
Okay. Yeah. So right now I'm going into a career as a digital marketer, but I also plan on starting my own business and have been attending these workshops to learn the basics. I plan on doing a B2C company. I plan to start a software as a service, and I am learning programming in order to create an application that produces deepfakes. I am planning to start a service that actually utilizes this technology to make advertisements. But right now I'm like learning more about how to start a business, how to create your own pitch deck, and how to create a business model. So.
Okay, very good. If at any point in time I say something that doesn't make sense, feel free to ask. All right, this is a very iterative process. So let me go back to the center. So let's talk about lead qualification. This is not a session to explain to you how to get a lead, but it could help you convert a lead once you've got a lead. So I'm starting at the center. So you have to have leads coming in somehow. You either knock on doors, you either generate them yourself, you either dial for dollars. Dialing for dollars means telephone calls, which, by the way, is the poorest way, the least effective way of increasing your performance in getting a sale. But it will teach you exactly what you need to know very painfully on why you're not a good salesperson. So it'll give you instant and immediate feedback, because most of you have not been trained on telemarketing skills, communication skills. You don't know how to do copywriting, and you've never sold before. How's that for 5 things that you don't know how to do right now? That's why people fail. That's why entrepreneurs who are hiring for salespeople don't know how to hire for salespeople, because you've never done it and you don't use the proper skills. So let's talk about lead qualification. In order to do great lead qualification, I'm going to start with the right. You've got to be talking to the right authority in the room or the business. So I want you to reflect back and try to figure out, how many times have you spoke to someone who didn't have the authority to say yes? Here's the distinction: the authority to say yes, but they behaved and acted like they had the authority to say no. And they probably did. And you were not clever enough to ask the second level question after that no, which says, well, are you the only person that makes a decision on moving forward if there was a yes? And at that point, if they're honest with you, they'll tell you, well, I don't really make that decision. See, so you just got to know from somebody who didn't have the authority to say yes. So that's a nuance in selling, which I'm going to call communications, that say, if you want to talk to the right person, you need to ask for the right person, which means you have to be very skilled at asking the right questions, and do it without being too brash or too abrupt. Too many inexperienced salespeople think it's all about, well, I'm going to use the term, being in your face. You don't do that. You never do that. That's the quickest way to get a no from somebody who didn't have the authority to say yes. All right. But you don't know that at that point. Right. So therefore, you have to be very skilled at asking a key question. If we had a service that would be of value to you and your organization, who would I be speaking to? Who could I be speaking to? Right? So that's very unassuming. It's very sophomoric, but very appropriate. You are showing deference. Oh, one of the other things I'm probably not going to do, and I realized I just went into it. I'm not going to teach you how to sell. We don't have time to do that. I just gave you some sales technique 2 times, maybe 3 times, which I may not describe what I was doing to you or for you, but this is not a class on how to sell. This is a class on how to think about selling and how to think about hiring the right person if you're ready to scale, because you cannot scale a business by yourself, depending on the nature of the service or business. Some of it can go e-commerce. You don't need salespeople for that, but you better be a good copywriter, create your sales page and your funnel, or you're going to have to hire a salesperson, a real live person. So here are the things when you're talking to the right authority. Here are 5 questions for you to understand where the person you're talking to could fit in helping promote your business. Jay, this is particularly important in what you sell. There's the economic buyer that you've got to know who that is. And the economic buyer may not always be the decision maker. You've got to know who the influencer is out of a team of people, especially in your industry, making a decision. Who are the influencers in this company who I either know or don't know? Then you've got to know, this is the easy one, the end user, if you can get to them. Sometimes in larger organizations, you can't get to the end user. Then you got to know who the information gatherer is. This is very touchy because many ineffective salespeople at any level, it could be the CEO, could be the founder, or it could be a direct salesperson. You don't know who you're talking about unless you know how to ask the right questions. You could be talking to the person who is only gathering information. And you may sense that, but you better be very careful not to treat them disrespectfully. So that's the information gatherer. Then you've got a champion. I love champions. In complex decisions, Jay, listen up. This is important to you. In complex decision making, which is what you're selling, and I have no idea how much your systems sell, but I'm pretty sure they cost more than $100 to install and deploy. You need champions inside of that room when you're not there. And you need to figure out who those are, because you're not going to be in every conversation that you will get a chance to present your solution. So you need champions. So I'm going to move on from authority. I just gave you 5 elements of understanding deeper and further at another level. You got to talk to the right people. So what's the next level that you ought to consider? Well, I'm going to stick with Jay for a moment because I don't know everybody else's sales cycle, but I'm pretty sure Jay's sales cycle is greater than a day, greater than a week, and probably closer to 60 to 90 days before they ever get back to you. Jay, why don't you unmute yourself and tell me if I'm close to being right or totally wrong? Told you it's going to be interactive. Jay, talk to me. All right, I'll move on from Jay. So you've got to know what's the time frame for decision making in terms of what you're doing. It's either going to be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Sometimes, as I did in negotiations with McDonnell Douglas and some of the Boeing, they take 2 to 3 years to make a decision. But you're also, if you're a service provider, selling systems that cost $2 million to deploy. So that's not for the faint of heart. It also sometimes requires that you know a little bit about engineering if you're talking about aircraft and some other things. So the decision time frame becomes important. You've got to know when they're going to make a decision. So that's asking the right question. Let's go to the left side, which really I should have started down at the left side. If you don't if you do not have this squared away before you start talking about your solution, you're wasting your time. You're talking to air. Do not waste your time unless you just want to be heartbroken and broke. Why do I say that? Sonny, unmute yourself. Take a look at my screen. Why do I say that?
What's the question? Sorry, I'm writing notes.
No worries. I saw you doing that. So what are those 5 things there? If let's start with this little table here. If there's no need, do you have something to, you may have something to sell, but are you talking to the right people?
No.
Of course not. And that would be why.
Because you're not solving.
The answer's off to the left.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, because you're not solving, one, you're not solving a problem, and 2, you're not speaking to the person that's going to be, you're not speaking to the one that can make the decision for that need to see if there is an actual problem. Correct.
So there's one item there that I love using with okay, I also haven't defined something else for you. So do you want to know another big secret? Everybody on this call, somebody say yes, and I'll share it with you.
Yes.
All right, so here's a big secret, especially to Jay. You can open your lips, you can part your lips, you can utter things from your lips, but unless you have clearly identified a suspect from a prospect, you're wasting your time. Now, what I'm talking about is face-to-face communication. I'm not talking about e-commerce. In e-commerce, if you've built the proper funnel, you will get the people to self-select, opt out, and then the rest become your real prospects. So a definition of a prospect that I have used for the better part of 5 decades is somebody, a prospect is everybody in those 5 elements to the left of that little chart there. Identified problem, looking for solutions, evaluating options, they're selecting a short list of suppliers, and they're making a buying decision. That is what defines a prospect. I just gave you the keys to the kingdom in terms of not wasting your time. Absent having those, you're wasting your time. You're just flapping your gums, talking to the air, because nobody's buying. You're not talking to the right people, right? So that falls a lot into the science of selling, which unless you've done it, you wouldn't know how to do that. I'm just giving you the answer to the question that you didn't know to ask because you haven't done it enough. But that is a key element of accelerating your success in selling. Now, let me go to the upper left. Unless you got money, that's the dollar sign, why are you talking to anybody? Unless there's a budget, why are you talking to anybody? Think about that for a moment. Does that make sense? Anybody? Have any of you ever talked to somebody offering your services, those of you that have services and products, not e-commerce. E-commerce is different. It's a self-selection model. But if you're talking live to promote your services, Sonny, let me ask you, when you offer the services or whoever's doing the selling in that environment, does anybody ever ask the question like early in the conversation whether there's any budget for this?
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, okay. So you're the spokesperson.
Yes.
Okay. Well, guess what? And this may sound contradictory in your case. I would suggest that you rehearse and practice whether there's any money or not. Why do I say that? Because you need the drill. You need the exercise. You need the skill. You need to sharpen your communication skills. At some point, you'll say, okay, I'm good. I think I'm good. I got it. I got the lesson I'm supposed to learn because that guy Miguel said it. So now you're going to do what? Now you're going to actually start the conversation in an oblique kind of way, not in your face, to find out if there's money in the budget for you or for your solution. You can have the best product and the best quote unquote pitch to an end user. But if you don't have the money in the budget, what do you think the answer is going to be? No, I can't do it. Now, I wish they were that direct and they actually told you, don't have the money. See, that would be awesome. If clients were ever that honest, you'd be golden, but they're not. They'll give you a bunch of reasons other than I don't have the money. And if you're a good salesperson, communicator, you'll be able to deflect a lot of that until you ultimately get to the point where it's about the money. It's not in the budget. And I got to tell you, I don't care how good of a salesperson you are. If it's not in the budget, the answer is going to be no for the short term. It doesn't mean it's no forever. So then the next question, when somebody were to tell me I don't have the money, then I would say, hey, Sonny, first of all, do you like our solution? Oh, yeah, this is awesome. It'll help me with this and that. Great. I said, so to the degree that if at some point in the future there was some money in the budget, when do you see that happening? I just qualified your response so that I can do my projections to figure out, okay, I got to check in with Sonny 9 months from now, because she just told me she thinks she may have the money 9 months from today. And then I would say back to Sonny, wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with me. I promise I won't hound you. I will stay in touch, however, just to make sure that I'm current with your progress and to see if there's anything else I can help you with. But do you mind if I stay in touch with you, say once every couple of months, just to check in with you? Sonny's going to say, of course not, because that was a low risk decision that I just gave you to make. You didn't promise me you're going to buy. I didn't promise you that I wasn't going to stay in touch. I'm asking for permission to stay in touch. And most people will say, yes, that's good. So I just did to you, Sonny, what I said I wasn't going to do. I just practiced sales technique. I can't teach you that in 30 seconds. Can't happen. But that is a technique of staying in touch. All right. Any questions on this slide before I move on?
No, it's very clear, Miguel, and I do like your little impromptu little role playing. I like that. FYI.
Thanks, Curly. That's how you develop skills. You got to role play. Everything needs to be role played, and it's not a function. See, once you get clear in your head that it's okay to look like you don't know what you're doing, and nobody's going to laugh at you, it's okay. That's how you learn. You got to get over that fear. Well, what am I going to say? Well, I don't know what to say. Well, great. Then utter whatever you're going to utter, and then we'll work on it. Right? So too many, we teach, curling, that's a good point. We teach students sometimes, students get frozen, especially students, get frozen and they say, well, I don't know the answer to that, but so I'm not going to talk. What? No, that's precisely the wrong approach. What you should be saying is, Coach, I have no idea what I'm going to say now. Can you give me an idea? Wow.
Sure.
That's a more engaging conversation and it leads to development. So thank you, Curling, for
Sure.
causing me to say that.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this thing, on this chart? Are we good? By the way, I don't expect mastery. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, could you go over a little bit, explain what selecting a short list is about on the needs section?
Okay, so that's on the vendor supplier, not the supplier side. That's on the vendor side. So every vendor, especially large organizations, have a procurement department. They have a short list of people that have already been vetted, probably gone through whatever qualifications if they've got to go through a bid, and it's called a short list. Okay. When you work with procurement, you're either on the short list or you're not. If you are a new supplier, you are not going to be on the short list. You just got to know that. So then the question becomes, if you're good and you have high levels of emotional intelligence and the person who is the buyer on the other side likes you, you will actually get away with asking the question of, how can I get on your short list of vendors, vendor suppliers? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
See, but I don't know anything about your business. You're going cloud. As I heard you correctly, it's a SaaS model. So I'm not even sure that you need to worry about a short list.
Okay.
What you need to worry about is traffic and conversion. In your case, T&C, once you create your portfolio of services and products in the cloud somewhere.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to move to the next one. So I'm going to give you some things to develop. I anticipated some of your questions. I can't believe we're already almost 45 minutes into our convo here. So it must be because I'm having fun, Curly. So
Yeah.
So here's a great book. So I've studied with Dr. Robert Cialdini. He's out of ASU in Arizona. He has got this great book for all of you who don't know how to communicate or could learn to communicate better. That book is outstanding. It's called Persuasion. And if you understand his concepts, which I don't expect you to right now, communications, which is what I believe in, and persuasion go together. There are 6 elements of persuasive conversation that cause people to say yes. So let me give you one. Now, Dr. Cialdini is a PhD, which means he's done a lot of research. His research project of 30 years ago is what really put him in the top seat of being a go-to person for he calls his book Persuasion, but it's really Persuasion, all right? So what is it? So I'll tell you one that impressed me back in the day when we were traveling a lot. And Curly, you'll probably know this, or anybody over 40 might remember this. Not you, Sonny. So we used to go to the airport, and there used to be the folks from the sect Hare Krishna that used to be at the airports, for sure, San Francisco airport. And they would give you usually a rose, a very pretty rose. And they would expect nothing. Not really, because they were appealing to a subset of human behavior that forces humans to feel obliged to recognize a free gift with what? Well, first of all, it starts with a thank you, right? Well, thank you so much. But then all you had to do was look down, and they generally had a contribution basket for those of you who go to church, a donation basket, okay? So it wasn't free. They were appealing to one of the principles that Dr. Cialdini has in his book, which has to do with the principle of reciprocity. So who would have ever thought that reciprocity is selling? Oh my goodness, it is. Because in exchange for quote unquote what you thought was a gift, what are you going to do when you see the basket? Well, you're going to go for whatever pocket change you got in your pocket at the airport and put it in the basket, or give them $1. That is a form of selling that works very effectively online for those of you in e-commerce. It's called a lead magnet. It's got different names for different people, but it's the same end result. Anyway, Persuasion, great book for those of you who want to learn more. Here's another one. So I've studied with Jeffrey Gitomer over 30 years. He's a good, tough, rough and tumble Philadelphian who is now a Floridian, but you can't take the East Coast out of him. So, it comes through in everything that he says. This is another great book that I recommend for you to add it to your collection of things to do. Carly, do you want to say something?
No, I heard about this one before, Miguel. So yeah, that was great.
Okay. Here's his most latest. So I like the way that Jeffrey himself has pivoted after almost 50 years in the business. Every one of you needs to figure out how you're going to go live. YouTube Live is a perfect way to do it, curling for you and the business, right? So that's awesome. But Gitomer's got a quick little book. Each one of you needs to also go live and figure out a strategy to do that. So here's a key concept that has been enabled by technology. The concept that I teach my clients is to be everywhere now. So if I put that in parentheses, it would say be everywhere now. That would be the strategy. What am I listening to today as a business owner, founder, entrepreneur that's going to allow me to be everywhere now? Make sense, guys?
Definitely.
Oh, there it is. Jay, I lied to you. See, I gave the secret to everybody. That's the book that is going to help you in your business. At least take a look at the strategies, and then you've got to develop the skill sets. Another excellent book. I just picked this up about a month ago. Virtual Selling. For everybody on this call, in today's environment, and it will continue post-COVID, we all need to learn and sharpen our skills on virtual selling, because that's what we're doing. Now, for everybody in this call, I'm going to give you like the way that one just came in from the left? I'm telling you, I'm getting good on this stuff. So yes. This is my this is my book. I wrote a book on emotional intelligence because I'm certified in it. So I'm going to gift everybody that's on this call this book, and it'll be the link to get to it is available to you up there, but it'll also be in the slide deck. There's a very quick registration process. I ask for a name, email address, and name, and then you get access to the ebook. It's a quick read, about 126 pages. It'll give you 17 skills necessary for performance leadership with your boss, your family, your team, or anyone else that's important in your transformational life. All right, so let me talk a little bit about assessments because I'm pressing up on time. I got less than 10 minutes or 10. So why are assessments important? Let me tell you why they're important in your personal life as an entrepreneur, but even more importantly, as you're going to scale your business. So I want to talk about why use assessments, motivators as a tool to evaluate emotional intelligence and sales IQ. Those are all tools that I teach my clients. So you can read this later, but why assessments? I'm just going to pick one, like top one. The right person in the right job is priceless. You guys are going to experience hiring the wrong people because you don't know how to hire. And by the way, that's a part of growth. But if you're real smart, you'll build out an advisory team of people that you don't necessarily have to pay, but you can call upon to help guide you on the decision process when you are ready to grow your business and expand it by building a team. So you guys can read this later. This will be in your handouts. Motivators. I don't hire the wrong person and never have, because in my business, I had a multi-step hiring process, usually 7 steps. But if you hire the right person with the right motivations, you'll never regret that decision in the growth of your business. They may outgrow your business, or the business may outgrow them, but it won't be because you hire demotivated people. You cannot grow a business, scale a business, own a business working with the wrong people. And Curling probably knows a lot about that based in his experiences. All right, so this is a tool that's available to you as an entrepreneur should you choose to use it. Emotional intelligence is a big deal. I hired sales executives with a starting salary of $100,000 in a roofing business that makes today $50 million in sales a year. Roofing is a custom business, needing custom solutions, needing people with skills. So I used emotional intelligence tool to hire these executives, sales executives. But these are some of the things that are measured in there. So you got self-management, social recognition, social management, and self-recognition. So what are the 4 big major elements that I can't teach on now in emotional intelligence? It starts with self-awareness. If you know what your self-awareness is, you'll be a better person for it. Then self-management. So self-management. I want everybody to think for a moment. Everyone's got a trigger. You may not know what yours is, or you may know what yours is. Everyone gets triggered about something. Once you know what your triggers are, you can develop a plan to respond to it accurately. The third element of emotional intelligence has to do with social awareness. And social awareness, and I will share with you, in my 20s, I was barely the person that you see today. I was conservative, meaning quiet, did not speak a lot because I didn't know how to behave in certain environments. I grew up in the inner city. You saw where I grew up. Big, tall buildings, inner city, high crime levels, a bunch of other stuff. All right. So what do I know about going to a social event? How about nothing back then? one of my coach mentors, who happened to be Jamaican, from Jamaica, who saw me as an undergraduate at the undergraduate school I went to. He was a senior when I was a freshman, remembered me. And as luck would have it, we wound up working for the same company. And he became my official mentor and gave me some wisdom. So emotional intelligence is an important element. You guys can read this later. This is a sales-specific assessment. You can't hire salespeople unless you're doing and using objective assessments. What I want to highlight for you here is this: Jeffrey Gitomer contributed to the tool. Jim Cathcart, relationship selling author, contributed to it. And Dr. Tony Alessandra, who I had breakfast with here in Liberty City in San Diego, wrote the Platinum Rule. And so these are very professional, highly respected people in their profession. All right. I got 7 minutes remaining. We're open for questions. We're open for questions. Curly.
No, this is great. I know what we want to do too, Miguel. I'll have Stephen. He has a couple questions he's going to ask you, but
yes. I did see the questions.
You know that. So
you want me to answer them?
I think the best thing probably to do, we'll probably answer a couple of those. I still want to have the kind of speed networking so everyone can still talk too, and maybe someone will talk to you too, Miguel.
Sure,
that would be good. But let me hand it over to Stephen. Stephen, you pick out the two questions that we had, some from the cohort.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so I know that we gave you that short list of questions before. So I know you talked about a lot of, I guess, ways that an individual can become better at selling, and you talked about different people's pitfalls and things like that. How is your team important when it comes to getting your initial customers?
You don't have a team when you're getting initial customers if you're an entrepreneur. There is no team. Who's the team? Whoever asked that question, I was unclear. I wrote an answer. Yes.
Yeah. I think that came actually from the initial cohorts that we had, right, Miguel, where the founder didn't actually know how to sell, right? But he had a really good team on building and things of that nature, right? And so they kind of did these kind of collective sales, and it worked offhand. But just from your point of view, how's that work, right?
Okay. Now I understand the nature of the question a little deeper.
Sure.
So yes, they don't have to be on your payroll, but you should always have team. You should always be surrounded by people smarter than you that have done exactly what you don't know how to do, right? And if they are willing to volunteer their skill sets, more power to you. So I would say that is the way I would approach it. So the first question I would ask Curly in response to that would be, who's on your team now? Who have you surrounded yourself with now that could help you? And if you don't know people in sales, find them. How would you go about finding people in sales? Anybody? Sonny, how would you find a salesperson today? Come on, you know the answer.
Well, I just feel like whenever I'm around somebody, based off of their energy or whatever it is, I'll try to fill out what they're good at and then go from there. If they are a good salesperson,
all right.
You can kind of figure out what the if they're a good salesperson, or if that is their field or whatever. But you can kind of feel out who's a good salesperson based off of how they communicate.
I think that's a good first pass for sure. Yeah. Okay, but everybody that you walk into a trade establishment in the retail, some are salespeople, many are not. But pay attention, listen to them. And if they have good communication skills, they may be a good salesperson. You might want to talk to them, over coffee, post-COVID, and or a Zoom, right? And figure out, I like the way you presented this thing to me. I'd like to learn a little bit more about you. Can we set up a Zoom call? And I would definitely do that. Does that help?
Yeah, that's a great feedback. That's good feedback, Miguel.
All right. Next, Stephen, you're on the hook now, Stephen.
Yeah, right. He's got probably your last question, Stephen, and then we'll move in.
Sure. So I know you talked a lot about your story, coming from the inner city and then to where you are now with all the experience and the knowledge that you have now. So imagine you had a chance to talk to your younger self, let's say when you were younger, right? Prior to this vast knowledge and experience that you have now. Are there any tips that you would give to your younger self that maybe might apply to other entrepreneurs that are listening in?
Yes. Now, normally I don't talk to myself that way, but I'll do it for you, Stephen. All right. So here's what I would say to myself. I told you I was insulated, meaning inner city. I didn't know I was broke till I got out of the hood. And so what was it that I would say to my younger self? Get great mentors. And when you think you have enough, get more. That's what I would have said to myself back then. But I didn't think that way back then. I was insulated. I was just trying to get out of poverty. I wasn't looking for mentors, right? Because I had the wrong thinking. And the wrong thinking was, here's the wrong thinking. Well, I have absolutely nothing to offer these people or this person, even if they did want to talk to me, right? What do I have? What do I bring to the relationship? So that was my own limited thinking back then. All right. Not the least of which was also, what the heck am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? We have nothing in common. Right. So again, it was all in my head. That's what I would say to my younger self.
No, that's great, Miguel. I like that answer too. Yeah, I like that. We wanted to do some sort of speed networking, and so everyone can kind of talk about a little bit what we've learned from Miguel. I know Stephen does a little wrap up piece, and then Stephen, we'll have to set up the rooms.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll do a little wrap up here, and then we can. I'll set up.
And I'm going to apologize because I got a 1:00. So you tell me,
worry, Miguel. I know
you don't need me for this, right?
No, we could just thank you now, Miguel. I know offhand you gave up, like you said, it was going to be a whirlwind. We can get whiplash. So I took a lot of notes. We did record it, which was great. Offhand, we're going to make sure your resources are out, at least to the initial cohort, so they can actually see those. And then we'll put the kind of book list under the video too, and on YouTube. But thank you for all your help. Thanks for helping out too, even with the Honor Foundation and at Cal State San Marcos, and you've been a good help for us. So thank you for this presentation. It was great. I learned a lot.
Well, if I could be of service, please let me know. And if any, let me see, it's only four people on this cohort, right?
Yes,
on this call, right? Well, yeah. All right. To only you four, if you want to have a convo with me, just let me know, and I'd be happy to have a Zoom, because we all live on Zoom. A Zoom call with you, and we can chat. So if that works for you, Curling and the team, I'm good with that.
That's great.
Thank you.
All right, but in Jay's case, if we close a deal, I'm going to negotiate with you. I need a payout.
I'm okay with that.
I don't work for free, Jay.
No. We got good commission dollars.
Yeah. No, I get it. I may not like your comp plan, all right, because I don't work 0-100. But we'll talk some more, Jay. We'll talk some more.
That's great.
I gotta go, guys.
No problem.
Thank you. And I apologize. I forgot to tell you I needed to leave at 1.
No problem. No problem. We usually, take care.
Thanks, Curly.
That's great.
Thank you, Curly.
Yeah. Thanks, Jay, for coming on, and thanks for allowing us to be a little interactive today. We told Miguel we wanted a little interactive.
That's awesome.
But we could totally do a short speed networking if you guys are still up, if everyone's still up to it.
Yeah, I'm fine.
You guys good? Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll just do the housekeeping and then start the speed networking then. So for those of you that are tuning in, whether it's live on YouTube or whether you're watching this recorded, feel free to give us a like, leave your thoughts down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We want this to be interactive as much as this session was for those who were here live. So if you have a question, feel free to leave it. All those interactions that we get, whether it be a like, whether it be a comment or something like that, helps to push this video out to more people, so that those interactions might push this out to an entrepreneur or somebody who really needed to hear some of the tips that Miguel showed today. So if you have a chance, feel free to do so. But as always, we will see you in the next video.
Thanks, Steve.